In life, we are endlessly surrounded by influences, opinions, judgments, and circumstances that seem poised to shake our inner peace. Many of us spend countless hours wrestling with the impact of others' words, dwelling on insults or misjudgments, and feeling unsettled by events beyond our control. But what if there was a path to peace, a way to live without being affected by these outside forces? Imagine for a moment the strength it would take to remain unbothered, the wisdom to see things as they truly are, without reacting emotionally to every shift in the world around us. This isn't just a dream, it is the wisdom found within Stoicism. Today, we'll explore 7 timeless principles based on his teachings. Each one serves as a step on the path to inner resilience, guiding us to focus on what we can control, let go of what we cannot, and cultivate a mindset so centered that nothing can disturb our peace. As we delve deeper, you'll see that the final principle, the idea that no one can harm you without your consent, is where the true power of Stoic thought comes alive. Let us begin this journey together, and remember that the ultimate goal isn't merely to avoid suffering, but to live a life in harmony with our highest values. Are you ready to explore the wisdom of Stoicism and learn how to build an inner sanctuary unshaken by life's storms? Principle 1. Recognize the boundaries of control. Our journey to an unbreakable inner peace begins here, with understanding control. Epictetus starts his famous manual. Consider this: how much time do you spend worrying about what others think of you, about the behavior of those around you, or about the outcomes of events beyond your reach? In truth, most of our anxiety stems from this very misunderstanding, believing we can, in some way, control what is not ours to influence. Epictetus reminds us that our thoughts, desires, and actions fall under our control, while everything outside our actions, like our body, wealth, reputation, and the opinions of others, does not. In this realization lies freedom. To focus our energy only on what we can control, we must first accept the world as it is, embracing the reality that we are not masters of everything we encounter. Reflect on this. When was the last time you allowed someone else's opinion to disturb your peace? Stoicism encourages us to see that the opinions of others are external to our true self. Does another person's judgment truly reflect who we are, or is it simply a fleeting view from their limited perspective? To live according to Stoic principles means acknowledging that others' thoughts and actions are beyond our control. Therefore, they hold no real power over us unless we permit it. Imagine the strength you could develop if you spent no time worrying about what lies beyond your influence. When you recognize what is and isn't within your control, life's burdens start to lighten. You'll find that many things you once felt compelled to change, other people's perceptions, situations at work, even the randomness of daily life, are simply distractions from the power within your own mind and will. So, how do we begin to practice this principle? Start by observing your thoughts whenever something disrupts your peace. Ask yourself, is this something I can control, or is it beyond my influence? If it's within your control, consider what steps you can take. If it's beyond your control, release it. Remind yourself that the only true harm comes from allowing external events to disturb your mind. This principle is the foundation of Stoicism and the bedrock of an undisturbed mind. In mastering the ability to focus only on what you can control, you are already halfway to a life untouched by the external chaos that often consumes us. Reflect on this truth daily, and with practice, you'll find it easier to let go of what is not yours to bear. Principle 2. Accept that no one can harm you without your consent. One of the most profound insights in Stoicism is this: an insult only holds as much power as you give it. Ask yourself, what do I truly gain by letting someone's harsh words or judgments penetrate my peace. If someone speaks ill of you, remember that they are only acting on their own beliefs, which may or may not align with the truth. Epictetus reminds us, "He who insults or strikes is not insulted, but rather his own judgment." In other words, it is the insulter's perception that they reveal, not some absolute truth about you. Think of a time when a careless remark or someone's insult ruined your day, or perhaps even your week. Stoicism teaches us to stop granting others such power over our emotions. If we believe that only our actions and thoughts are truly ours, then insults belong to the insulter, not to us. When another person disrespects us, we can choose to see it as their issue, not as a personal injury to our character. Consider this analogy. If you walked past a stranger yelling insults into the wind, would you take it personally? Most likely not, because the insult lacks context. It does not truly reflect upon you. This is how we can train ourselves to perceive insults as irrelevant words that reflect only the speaker's mind and not our value. To strengthen this approach, Stoicism encourages us to cultivate patience and inner composure. When someone speaks ill of you or tries to provoke you, pause. Take a breath and remember Epictetus's advice. It is not the insult itself that harms, but your interpretation of it. By allowing yourself this space, you gain time to reframe the insult in a way that serves your peace, not your anger. Would you surrender your mind to anyone who demands it? Just as we protect our homes from intruders, so should we guard our minds from unsolicited negativity. Our inner peace is our fortress, and we alone decide who or what may enter. Imagine the freedom that lies in releasing yourself from the power of insults. Stoicism teaches that with time and practice, insults will no longer stir an emotional reaction within you. Instead, they'll become empty words that neither threaten nor define you. When others attempt to provoke or judge, let their words fade into silence as if carried away by the wind. As you embrace this principle, reflect on how you respond to criticism or judgment. Do you allow these external opinions to alter your mood, or can you acknowledge them without letting them enter your mind? Practicing this form of self-control will lead you closer to a life untouched by the whims of others. With this strengthened inner resolve, let's turn now to our next principle, the importance of maintaining a steadfast purpose even when others may try to deter us. Principle 3. Hold firm to your purpose amidst criticism. One of the common trials we face when pursuing a meaningful goal or adopting a new philosophy is resistance from others. Epictetus reminds us that if we wish to live by the principles of Stoicism, or any path we choose, this journey requires commitment and the courage to withstand criticism, misunderstanding, and even mockery. Consider this. How often do we hesitate to pursue something important because we fear judgment? How many times have we abandoned our goals because someone dismissed them or because the path was lonely? Epictetus advises us to recognize that if our purpose is worthy, we must prepare to meet resistance. If you have the firm purpose of understanding philosophy, he says, prepare yourself from the start to be ridiculed and suffer mockery from the crowd. He teaches us to expect challenges and, importantly, to maintain humility despite any praise or criticism. Imagine, for example, deciding to live by Stoic principles in a society that may value material success or status over inner peace and self-mastery. People may ask, why pursue such a strange philosophy? Who needs this wisdom in a modern world? But Epictetus urges us to stay the course, reminding us that others' opinions should not dictate our purpose. If we yield to them, we give away our peace and self-respect, allowing ourselves to be swayed by external influences that have little to do with our true values. When we are firm in our purpose, we need not look to others for validation. Instead, we can find satisfaction in the knowledge that we are living according to our own values and principles. If others see our commitment and admire us, that is a bonus. If they criticize or misunderstand us, we remain unshaken because we know why we are on this path. Epictetus encourages us to remain humble, not adopting any arrogant attitudes, and to persist quietly and resolutely, for eventually others will respect what they once ridiculed. Think about your own life. Are there goals you've hesitated to pursue because of fear of what others might think? Stoicism challenges us to consider, is the approval of others worth sacrificing our true path? When we let external opinions alter our course, we betray our deeper purpose. Each time you face criticism, ask yourself, is my purpose clear? If it is, let that certainty guide you. As Epictetus teaches, if you remain steadfast in your position, the same people who used to ridicule you will end up admiring you. Over time, others may come to respect or even follow the values we live by. Yet, our fulfillment does not depend on that approval. It comes from living a life that aligns with our nature and values. In the face of opposition, know that each step you take toward your purpose strengthens your resilience. Even if no one sees or understands, your purpose remains yours. And as you grow in your commitment, you will find the strength to pursue what is right, unaffected by the shifting tides of public opinion. Now that we understand the importance of staying true to our purpose, let us explore the next principle in Stoicism. The idea that honor and approval are fleeting and ultimately unimportant. Principle 4. Disregard the need for approval and honor. In our quest for peace and resilience, one of the greatest barriers is the desire for approval and honor. Epictetus teaches us that if we allow our happiness to be shaped by the opinions and validation of others, we will forever be at their mercy. Stoicism guides us to recognize that social approval is fleeting and unstable, while true contentment can only arise from within. Ask yourself, how often do you do things purely to gain someone's approval? In today's world, social media amplifies this desire, pushing many to seek validation through likes, comments, and followers. But Stoicism challenges us to look beyond these superficial markers of worth. Epictetus would ask us to reflect, is your value truly tied to public recognition? Or does it come from living a life that aligns with your principles and virtues, regardless of others' praise or criticism? Consider how liberating it would be to live without craving approval. Imagine a life where you are content with who you are, without needing others to validate your worth. Epictetus tells us that if we rely on honors and the praise of others, we surrender our happiness to forces beyond our control. If not receiving honors were a bad thing, he says, then others would have the power to make us unhappy, and that's not how things work. Stoicism encourages us to think of honor as something external and fleeting, like a passing breeze. Just as we would not attempt to catch the wind, we should not chase after public approval. Those who seek constant praise will find themselves in a perpetual state of tension, changing their actions and words to suit others' opinions. Is this constant struggle worth sacrificing your peace? We are not here to impress others, but to live true to our values. True freedom comes when we no longer need to be anyone in others' eyes. Epictetus calls this state imperturbability, a mind that is untroubled by the shifting opinions of others. To be imperturbable means to stand firm in who we are and what we believe, regardless of the judgment or recognition we receive. The Stoic sage finds satisfaction in living according to virtue and wisdom, not in seeking validation from others. Ask yourself, if honor and praise were taken from you tomorrow, would you still live in the same way? Would you still hold to your beliefs, follow your principles, and seek personal growth? Stoicism invites us to imagine this scenario often, so we can prepare ourselves to detach from the need for others' approval. In doing so, we find a peace that others cannot take from us, a peace that lies in the integrity of our actions, not in the opinions that may or may not follow. When we understand this, we become immune to the forces that push and pull so many off their path. Rather than changing ourselves to fit into others' expectations, we focus on refining our character, seeking growth, and cultivating virtues. This detachment from honor and recognition is not apathy, but freedom. It allows us to be true to ourselves, and in that truth, we find an unshakable foundation. So, consider this principle the next time you feel the urge to act for approval. Instead, act from a place of inner strength and purpose, finding joy in your own commitment to virtue. And as you release the need for external honor, you will find that your peace deepens, becoming a source of strength. Now that we've examined how to break free from the chains of public opinion, let's turn to the next principle: the power of self-control and discipline in guarding our peace against negativity. Principle 5. Strengthen self-control to guard your inner peace. In the journey to cultivate an unshakable mind, Epictetus emphasizes the need for self-control and discipline. Without these, we allow external events, negativity, and the opinions of others to infiltrate our minds, disturbing the peace we so earnestly seek. To live a life in alignment with Stoicism is to develop the strength to guard our minds as steadfastly as we would protect our own homes. Consider how easily we let negativity take root in our minds. A harsh word, a fleeting insult, or even a dismissive glance can consume us for hours or days. Epictetus urges us to ask ourselves, would you allow strangers to walk into your home and create disorder? Most of us would answer no, and yet we often allow others' judgments, frustrations, and criticisms to disrupt the sanctity of our inner world. In truth, our minds should be safeguarded with the same vigilance, for it is in our minds that our true peace resides. Think about how much of our emotional turmoil arises not from actual events, but from our reactions to them. Stoicism teaches us that the true source of suffering is often our own undisciplined responses. If we can learn to manage our reactions, we begin to see that the power of others to harm us is only as great as our willingness to let them affect us. Epictetus tells us, for an insult to turn into an offense, we must participate in it. In other words, without our consent, no one can rob us of our peace. How do we cultivate this level of self-control? Stoicism suggests starting with small daily practices. Each time you feel anger, frustration, or disappointment, pause and ask yourself, is this reaction necessary? Is this worth giving up my peace? Think of your mind as a fortress. Just as we fortify our homes to keep out intruders, we can strengthen our minds to resist negativity. This requires daily discipline. Imagine the strength of a mind that does not yield to every insult, that stands firm against every provocation. Through small, consistent acts of self-control, we develop the resilience needed to withstand life's challenges without being consumed by them. Epictetus also reminds us to apply this principle even with those closest to us, our friends, family, and loved ones. Sometimes, the harshest judgments or the most cutting remarks come from those we hold dear. When this happens, remember that their words do not define you. If you let them disturb your peace, you have allowed another person's perspective to overtake your mind. By practicing restraint, even with those we love, we develop an even deeper level of resilience. In this way, self-control becomes a kind of shield, protecting our peace and guiding us through moments of emotional turmoil. As you move forward, make a habit of practicing self-control in small ways. Each time you choose not to react, you reinforce your ability to protect your inner calm. This discipline becomes second nature, leading you toward a life where your peace is no longer at the mercy of outside forces. With self-control as our shield, let us now turn to the next principle in Stoicism, acting with integrity according to our best judgment, regardless of others' misinterpretations. Principle 6. Act according to your best judgment, unaffected by misinterpretation. In the practice of Stoicism, one essential teaching is the courage to act according to one's own judgment, irrespective of others' perceptions or misunderstandings. Epictetus encourages us to live authentically, guided by principles that align with our values, without bending to the world's misinterpretations. To act otherwise is to surrender our inner peace to external judgments, making us more vulnerable to others' views than to our own sense of right and wrong. Consider this. How many times have you held back from doing what you believed was right because you feared being misunderstood? Perhaps you've refrained from pursuing an interest, avoided expressing your beliefs, or allowed your actions to be swayed by how you anticipated others might react. Epictetus teaches us that living according to our highest judgment means making decisions that align with our values, regardless of how others might interpret them. In a world where opinions and judgments are often loud and quick, the Stoic path calls for a steady commitment to authenticity. Epictetus would remind us, why fear others' wrong judgment if we are acting rightly? This is an invitation to pause and reflect on our motivations. If our actions are just, then others' opinions lose their significance. The essence of Stoicism lies in maintaining our integrity, knowing that we act according to a higher standard, one that doesn't waver with shifting public views. Reflect on how liberating it would be to act without the weight of others' expectations. Stoicism reminds us that even if others misinterpret or judge us harshly, their views are just that, their own. They do not define our character, nor do they hold any true bearing on the worth of our actions. When we act with clarity and conviction, we cultivate a sense of peace that is immune to the misunderstandings of others. How can we practice this principle in daily life? Begin by identifying moments when you feel pressured to alter your actions based on how you anticipate others will react. Ask yourself, am I acting out of integrity, or am I altering my behavior to fit into others' views? This reflection allows you to separate your genuine intentions from the need for validation. With practice, you'll find that the more you align your actions with your inner principles, the less affected you'll be by others' perceptions. This principle is especially relevant in the age of social media, where many feel pressured to project a certain image for approval. Stoicism teaches us to resist this urge, to act from a place of sincerity rather than from a need for applause or recognition. Epictetus would remind us that a truly content mind is one that remains unperturbed by whether others are watching, praising, or criticizing. What matters is that we know we are living in accordance with our highest values. When we act with integrity, we become resilient. This inner resilience allows us to navigate the world freely, unburdened by the fears of misinterpretation or judgment. And in doing so, we come to see that peace lies not in others' approval, but in our unwavering commitment to what we believe is right. As we continue, we arrive at the final and perhaps most liberating Stoic principle, the understanding that no one can harm you unless you permit it. This ultimate teaching reminds us of the profound strength we hold in choosing what affects us. Principle 7. Accept that no one can harm you without your consent. At the heart of Stoicism lies a powerful truth. No one can harm you without your permission. Epictetus urges us to understand that true harm doesn't come from external events, insults, or judgments. It arises only when we internalize these as negative reflections on our self-worth. This principle is the culmination of Stoic resilience, teaching us that we alone decide what affects our inner peace. Reflect on this. How often do we feel hurt, not by the event itself, but by our interpretation of it? When someone criticizes or dismisses us, we often grant them the power to disturb our well-being. Stoicism invites us to look at these moments from a fresh perspective. Instead of reacting, we can ask ourselves, does this truly define me? Or am I allowing myself to feel hurt unnecessarily? Imagine possessing the strength to let words, opinions, and judgments wash over you without leaving a trace. Epictetus teaches us that when someone insults us, it is simply their view, shaped by their own experiences, biases, and beliefs. Their words are like echoes in the wind, holding no true bearing on our worth or character. We can choose to listen, or we can choose to let them fade away, untouched. Ask yourself, if you were utterly confident in who you are, would the opinions of others disturb you? The Stoic path encourages us to cultivate this inner confidence, grounded in self-knowledge. When we truly understand our values, motives, and actions, others' judgments lose their sting. Their words may be loud, but they do not alter our inner truth. We remain, in the Stoic sense, imperturbable, unmoved by the shifting winds of opinion. How do we practice this in daily life? Begin by observing your emotional reactions to criticism or judgment. When you feel hurt, ask, have I allowed this person's words to affect me? Is this reaction within my control? By framing it as a choice, you remind yourself that you hold the power to decide what enters your mind and heart. With practice, you will find that even the harshest judgments no longer unsettle you. Epictetus teaches that we cannot control the actions of others, but we can control our response. If someone's actions are meant to provoke, harm, or diminish us, remember that their actions reflect their character, not ours. We are responsible only for how we choose to respond, not for their attempts to unsettle us. Through this understanding, we unlock a profound freedom. No one can harm us unless we consent to it. No one's words or judgments can touch our peace unless we grant them that power. In this, we find the true essence of Stoicism, a life lived in harmony with our highest self, untouched by the turbulence of others. As you reflect on these 7 principles, consider how they might change the way you approach challenges, relationships, and personal growth. Remember that the ultimate strength lies in guarding your inner sanctuary, where only you hold the keys. He said calm. The teachings of Epictetus and the path of Stoicism offer us a way of life grounded in resilience, self-mastery, and inner peace. By recognizing what lies within our control, holding to our purpose, releasing the need for approval, and cultivating self-discipline, we build a life that no external force can shake. Each of these principles is a step on the journey to becoming our own fortress, a life where our peace, purpose, and happiness are governed by our own wisdom, not by the passing opinions or circumstances of the world. So, take these Stoic teachings to heart, practice them in your daily life, and watch as you begin to experience the freedom of a mind unshaken. If this message resonates with you, consider sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Reflect on which principle speaks to you most, and let us know how you plan to apply it. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this journey with others who seek wisdom and peace. Thank you for joining us on this path to inner strength. May your journey in Stoicism lead you to a life of lasting resilience and tranquility.